So, the eternal question: how many guitars do you really need? Does having more guitars make you happier? Um, I don't claim to have all the answers, but I do have a very, very unique experience. So, that's what I'm going to share with you. As you saw in the thumbnail, I have had one guitar for 10 years, and I've also had 100 guitars for 1 year. And some interesting insights have been unearthed in this process. So, let's go. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background to my journey. For those of you who haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'm Utkarsh. I'm from Singapore. This is the Ministry of Guitar. We do reviews. I have a pretty large guitar collection here. We do in-depth reviews. We give unbiased opinions. Something different. A little bit more focused on PRS and Gibson. A little bit more focused on some heavier extended range guitars. If that interests you, this may be for you. But let's get back to the topic in hand. Do more guitars make you happier? How many guitars do you need? What have I learned from my experience? So, for the first 10 years of my guitar playing journey, I had one guitar, one electric guitar, one Epiphone Les Paul. I had a cheap Indian guitar, a Gibson copy acoustic called Gibson. That got smashed by somebody. Then I had one acoustic guitar, a starter Epiphone. That's what I had till 2015. So 2005 to 2015, one guitar, one electric, one acoustic guitar. 2015 till now, 2024. Overall, I have owned about 130. Yes, you heard that right, 130 guitars. So clearly the last 9 years have been a touch crazy. And currently I have about 80 guitars. The reason I say 100 guitars in a year is in the past year, I have owned 100 guitars. I have sold perhaps 20 of them. But I'm in that range. Maybe one or two here and there. I don't keep an exact count. So I've learned a few important lessons. And I will tell you what they are. Lesson number 1. Even if you have 100 guitars, it's never enough. There is no end to this journey. There will never be a point where you will say that, hey, I have everything I need. Even right now, I look at certain things, I feel like, okay, maybe I should get one of these, one of that. There's a guitar I once sold, I want it back. There's a certain specification I'd like to try. There's an 8-string Ernie Ball Music Man, John Petrucci. I don't have that. Maybe I would like to try that out. You can make countless reasons to have another one, something to try out, a spec you haven't tried. There's no end to it. There is just no end to it. So if you ever think that, if you go down the journey of thinking that you need more guitars, or rather you want more guitars than you need, and you think that you will reach an end point for that need, it's never going to happen. Hasn't happened for me. And I've watched how this happened because I had one guitar. Then, in fact, I just got one more. I got another Epiphone as my second guitar, a double neck, and I thought, that's it, I'm done. And then I was like, maybe one day I should get a Gibson. So I got a Gibson. And then, I've always wanted to own an Explorer. I've always wanted to own a Firebird. It just didn't stop. So I think in 2017, I had about 16 guitars. 2018, I started my Japan assignment. And that was a bit crazy because I pretty much got a guitar almost every time I went to Japan. It just exploded from there. And it's like every time people met me, especially friends who met me after some period of time, they said that, oh, how many guitars do you have now? And it was not even funny. It was true every time that number went up. So lesson number 1, you will never be truly satisfied. On the flip side, lesson number 2, more guitars than one does give you more happiness than having one guitar. So I came to this conclusion through a very unusual social experiment which wasn't planned. In 2020, at the point of time where I probably had about 40 or 50 guitars back then, I live in Singapore, but I had to go to India and spend 6 months in India. There's a family emergency. And so I literally flew to India and I was there for 6 months. That's it. And I had one guitar in India. I just had one, an Epiphone Flying V, which I had taken to India many, many years, maybe a couple of years earlier. So for 6 months, this is the person who has 40, 50 guitars. This is the person who's also had one Epiphone for the longest time, was back to playing one Epiphone. So I was like, okay, let's see. Am I going to feel happier? Will I miss my other guitars? Is all these extra guitars, are they really required? I missed them. I really did. There were 2 or 3 aspects to it. One aspect, of course, is the Epiphone flying V, no matter how good, and that's a pretty good Epiphone. It's a made in Korea, older Epiphone. No matter how good that guitar is, it's certainly not as good as my made in USA PRS. It just isn't. I mean, we can have a separate topic on cheap guitars versus expensive guitars. Spoiler, expensive guitars are better. Are they so many X better is a different matter. But I missed it. I really did. I missed the quality and I missed the variety. And the variety of guitars is actually very interesting. Because it just keeps things fresh. I mean, you could wear the same shirt every day, frankly, but you don't, unless you're Mark Zuckerberg, I guess. But yeah, so it's the same thing. This doesn't mean that you need to have two rooms full of clothes either, but definitely more than one is enjoyable. It's enjoyable just as a guitar player, as an owner of guitars, and also as a musician. There is not too much. I mean, yes, there's a lot of bullshit about this guitar wrote the song. I think the guitars don't write the songs, the people do. But there is no doubt that different guitars bring a little bit out. So would I recommend having more than one guitar if you can afford it? Yes, I absolutely would. The third lesson is in being choiceful and in being brutal. And this is something I'm working on. I'm getting better at it. But what you will find is that there will be multiple guitars that you get attracted to. Something is launched well, there's a very good demo track, the artist you like plays it. 100 reasons, you can recognize them. The color just looks so good in the moment. Every guitar that you buy, it is, end of the day, it is a sum of money put aside. And it is a sum of money that you will have to recover or lose some of it, or if you buy certain guitars, they even go up if they're second hand or whatever. But it is work. It is a lot of time consumption. So, unless you're like me or somebody else who spends an inordinate amount of time on the guitars, maintaining them, or even showcasing them like I do on this channel, you have to be very sure that you're ready for that time commitment, that redirection of your attention from other things to this. So try to be very choiceful when you buy guitars. I've honestly failed at that. And one thing that I'm trying to do this new year is really, I have 80, and I'll get in a second to what I believe is a sweet spot personally for me. But yeah, just be very choiceful and never buy a guitar when you just see it and click it and you get it immediately. That impulse control is needed. Fourth thing, and this is something that owning many guitars does for you. When you play only one guitar, you get very used to that kind of guitar. So I played an Epiphone Les Paul. And when I bought guitars after that, I was only used to kind of thicker, actually more of a 50s kind of a Gibson kind of a neck. It's not a thin neck, as used to the shape. When I tried to play the PRS, it felt weird to me. When I tried to play a Fender, it felt weird to me. So the advantage of playing many guitars is now I'm so immune to all these different guitars. I mean, I have certain very strong preferences, but I can pretty much play everything. So the good thing about having many guitars or going through many guitars, if you are open to the time and the money investment, even if you don't end up spending, but recovering it, selling, buying, all of that, is that you do learn what you want. I recommend everybody does it. I recommend it if you have the time and you have the money. Otherwise, one guitar will do it just fine. But that experience of having owned 150 guitars or whatever the number is for me is indeed valuable. I now know exactly what I like. And I wouldn't have known. I would always have this curiosity. Okay, I need to try this. I need to try that. Now the thing is, when I get those moments of curiosity, I know exactly what it would be like. And it's not just a question of going to a shop and playing it while 25 different people are around the shop. You can never really experience a guitar that way. The way you experience a guitar is in your home, in your setup, in your comfortable environment. So that thing has been advantageous. Is it entirely worth the time and attention? I don't know. But that is definitely an advantage of having had many guitars. So what is the conclusion? How many guitars do I think one needs? There's no answer to it as such, but I'll tell you my opinion. I think for the heavily involved guitarist, very heavily involved, who can really appreciate the guitars, the maximum you really need is about 10 at the most. This includes sentimental guitars, variations. You can have a Strat, you can have a Tele, you can have a semi-hollow. That's what I think for the 6-string guitarist. That's all you need. You need 10. In fact, a lot of my friends who also have multiple guitars like me, and some of them have actually been through an equal number, if not higher number of guitars than me, but they're kind of better at kind of being ruthless and selling what they think is not going to be a keeper for them. Around 10 is the number that everybody settles at. There is a slight disclaimer. The disclaimer is for me because these friends only play 6-string guitar. In my particular case, I play 6-string, I play 7-string, I play 8-string, I play baritone, which is 6-string, but I use it a lot. And I do play in multiple tunings, and I love the convenience of just having guitars in those tunings, even though technically you can just use, the detuner or the pitch shift in anything, in a pedal, in a plugin. But because I value that convenience, so for me, that number 10 has to then be multiplied a little bit by the number of kinds of instruments that I play. But yeah, 10 is really, I've thought about it. 10 good guitars is the maximum you really need. 70, 80, and even for me, 70 or 80 guitars has really gotten to be painful. Maintaining them, making sure they're all okay. Making sure they're all in good playing condition, playing all of them. Even though all of them appeal to me, if I look at each of them individually, I can think of 1,000 different reasons why I should keep them. If you look at the videos that I've been making recently about some of the guitars that I'm selling, I am full of praises for those guitars because I love those guitars. I bought them for a reason. They are amazing guitars. So individually, there would be no reason to sell them. But then, if that one guitar is part of 80 guitars, then you really have to make some very, very tough choices. So yeah, so my particular journey, I think I'm going to try to get down to about 35 from the 80 plus that I have now. It's going to be a long journey. I'm in no hurry because I'm kind of in two minds about it, but I know that around 30, 35 is the right number for me, only because I also play 7, 8, baritone, multiple tunings. As a 6-string player, take it from me, 10 guitars is the maximum you require, at the very most. All right, I hope this was fun. Till next time.